of the Dr. Will Show. I am your host, Dr. Will. Now, I had to do this show because I met our guest tonight last year when we put together a Schoology leadership summit. And quite honestly, I had no idea that there were other enterprise users in the state. So her and her colleague came. We didn't have a great turnout, but we did have a great time in sharing and learning from one another. Then I caught back up with her at Mecca, and she's such a powerhouse, so full of energy. So I said, I have to get her on the show. She is a fellow Schoology ambassador, only two of us in the state, one-to-one program. And she is also from Mississippi as well. So I normally don't have shows with people on Mississippi. I don't know why, and I should, because we have talent here. So people, I'm going to introduce you to our guest for the night, Hope. I messed up your name. Hope Elliot. Hope, for those who are watching the show, will you please introduce yourself?
Hey, y'all. I am Hope Elliott. I am not a Mississippi native. I'm an Alabama native, but have been in Mississippi about 4 years now. This is our second year one-to-one, second year Schoology. We did it all at the same time, so that's been interesting. You know, I love my job as instructional tech coach. I am fully immersed in learning something new just about every day. So, and I love going to conferences where, you know, we learn some stuff. And the best thing about Mecca to me is actually the networking, you know, getting to talk to other people who do what we do in the state to kind of see where are we, you know. So I'm living what I'm doing. I'm thankful for it.
Awesome. Awesome. And if you like, have you been to ISTE before?
No, remember I went to FETC this year and it was amazing.
Okay. Because you talk about the networking.
Yes.
The ISTE is the networking place for EdTech. It is unbelievable. I mean, the Bloggers Cafe is the truth. Now, the sessions will bore you to death. I'm not gonna lie, because they have so many sessions on 60 apps and 60 minutes and stuff like that. So I'm well above over that at my time. So folks, let's get into the show, because you're just hearing this banter. You may be wondering, let's get it on. We will be talking, in case you haven't noticed, about a one-to-one rollout. So Heather, please walk us through your one-to-one rollout. What was your district's mission in going one-to-one? And what were you and your colleague challenged to do by administration?
Well, I really think the one-to-one was really preparing our students more for 21st century learning and preparing them to leave us, whether it be the workforce or college, because most everywhere you go, somebody's on a computer, somebody's on some kind of device, and we wanted our students to be prepared. We also know with student engagement now, their attention spans are so short because they are used to immediate interaction, and technology helps us to do that. Basically, my colleague and I were charged with not letting the technology be a toy. We rolled out K through 4, actually pre-K through 4 have iPad minis and iPads, and 5 through 12 have MacBooks. So we were really charged the first year is just getting the teachers used to using them for instruction. Not just at the end of the lesson, go watch a math video, go play a math game online. With us using Schoology at the same time, we really spent a lot of time teaching teachers about Schoology and the purpose and its use within the classroom with the technology. So we spent a good portion of the year probably troubleshooting, doing quick tips, doing trainings on just basic stuff, several different Schoology trainings throughout the year. But we just didn't want it to be a toy. We wanted it to be part of curriculum and part of instruction.
So how did your district come about the decision to adopt Schoology as your learning management system?
Well, I think this was right before I came on as the beginning preparatory phase of it. And they went through several LMSs looking at Canvas, Blackboard, all of those. And they narrowed it down to 2 that came to present to all administrators, assistant principals, and all of our PLC leaders from all of our schools came in. And we watched both pitches and we voted. And it was almost unanimous to go with Schoology. So she actually just put it in the hands of the people who would be using it, and it'd be in their buildings.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I know I didn't give you this question beforehand, but I need to go there with you because you talked about troubleshooting and sort of holding teachers' hands when you first rolled out Schoology. And this is from my own personal experience, I won't, I still have teachers who would rather go to the copy room, run those 1,000 copies off a week, as opposed to putting instruction in Schoology, warehousing resources for their students in Schoology, where students can have that for review. They can have that for something to sort of prepare for upcoming tests. Just a whole bunch of things that can be done. In the work that you've done with teachers, how do you get them to let go of that paper? I'm not one to say to go 100% paperless, because sometimes paper, math or other classes, sometimes that paper assignment is what's best for the learning.
Right.
But you have people, they hold on to that paper as though it is a family heirloom. And they don't want to give it up. So how do you get them to see the benefits of Schoology and how it can better be not only a workflow, but a better way to engage and teach their students?
We kind of went after the go-getters first and showed them what we knew first. So that way we had people in every building who bought in. We also spent a lot of time with some of our administrators. Some of them are still old school and we work on it, but the ones who really seemed open and wanted to know more, we invested a lot of time showing them. So that way you had people in each building who could kind of be a go-to. Then the ones on the fence are kind of where we went next. Those ones who were they were like, well, and so we showed them and helped them do some stuff, just invested time, the coaching model. And some of them are still riding the fence. But those ones we've got some that aren't going to give up the paper. And I created stuff for them and they're still not going to give up the paper. But those ones that we kind of learned, it was fear and lack of understanding. It's almost like we employed the I do, we do, they do, you do model. So, elementary spelling test. Give me your spelling words. Let me create your test for you. Oh my gosh, that was wonderful. Okay, now we're going to create the next test together. And I'm going to help your buddy create a test. And so now we move to they do. I really want to build that community where they start helping each other, because it is more work on the front end, less on the back, and even way less if you got a buddy doing it with you and you changing up duties. So like, I'll do the spelling test this week, you do it next. Once you can just show them, and I think it's the willingness to invest in them and do it for them, to say, I'm in the trenches with you and I'll come back to support you. I think that has helped. I think we've got some that just aren't going to budge. And, it's the joy suckers, the sky's falling, Chicken Littles. It's just going to be what it's going to be. And so they could be a huge time suck if you let them. So we kind of really supporting our go-getters, making sure they know we're here, and then trying to build that middle group, make it bigger. And then hopefully next year we move some more of that middle group to the advanced group, and some more of that fearful group to the middle group, just start that shift.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned about your professional development. So let's take a look at it. What does professional development at your district look like? Is it mandatory? And who decides what teachers will learn?
Some is mandatory, some is not. If it is a product that we have purchased, it's mandatory. We started using the gradebook this year. We closed our parent portal to our student information system, and we're primarily using Schoology gradebook, and they just put 9-week grades in to run report cards. That forced a change. And so we spent the beginning of school year, probably for a month or so, doing PD on the gradebook, which we thought would be an easier transition than what it was. So if it's anything that we mandate or we purchase, that makes it mandatory. Like we're doing Nearpod trainings right now, but we're letting principals decide what faculty members have to come to that and don't. So it just kind of depends. A lot of ours is product driven. What do the teachers need training on? We do needs assessments throughout the years and poll them. What do you want to know? We poll our administrators. What do you want us to do for you? We're having to do less polling now because now we built those relationships with principals. They tell us, hey, I want you to come do X, Y, and Z. You know, so right now I want to say mandatory is product driven, you know, or change driven. So most of it, we do have on Schoology an optional professional development course where teachers can go in, and we have courses on like Kahoot, quizzes, Edpuzzle's a course, infographics, like how to use infographics. The Apple Suite is a course that teachers can go in and take, but that's completely optional. So we kind of offer both.
That's fantastic. And if you don't mind, share those courses with me.
Well, I'm going to tell you, well, the Apple wouldn't do good, but we're about to switch, and they're just going to do the Apple teacher courses themselves now. We're going to remove that because a lot of the products we use, they're producing their own stuff now. So, but I can share. Let me go look and see what we got. You know, I'll share.
Awesome. And I'll use that. I'll use it. We have been trying to offer, we actually do offer courses online via Schoology for teachers. Some take to it. Others, I just think maybe for some of the online learning environment, they need to get used to doing that, particularly if they haven't done it via grad school. That whole sort of
right.
Let me sit here and learn this way. It's a bit different for them, but we're hoping to actually grow it because our mission behind it is if you can go through this course and you can learn how to push the buttons, then when we see you, we don't need to cover the buttons unless you have a question. When we see you, now we can talk about how do we run this via the SAMR model.
Right.
How is this? How can we more integrate this into your high impact groups or your station rotation or whatever blended learning model you choose to use. So that's what we're trying to do. So get the button pushing out of the way, because if I have 40 minutes with you, depending on the tool, 30 minutes of that is going to be click here, click there. You do this, you create this, and do this.
Right.
And not much time is left for, okay, in terms of your classroom, this is what this looks like there. So what we're trying to do.
Right.
As in all initiatives, you will have your innovators, and we've already talked about this. Okay, let me go here with this. Your innovators, how are they being leaders at the school to work with those who did not jump on board in the first place?
Well, we kind of figured out key people in each building and made them PLC leaders, focused on Schoology, and brought them in for some training to show them some of our tips and tricks. And most of them walked away with things they didn't know. We route people to them all the time. So they've become almost a 3 before me rule. So teachers know, go to my Schoology person in the building. have an on-site person since Aaron and I aren't there every day. Hope, can you come and see me? I can. I won't be there till the end of the week. They now have a person in the building they can go to. We're getting them some Schoology swag. So, reinforcement. They receive a very small stipend. So it's not a lot of gratitude. But when we find out about something new, we're going to tell them first. They're going to be on the inner circle. And sometimes a lot of them, that's what they like. They want to be in the know. So that's kind of how we're doing it. We're also differentiating our training right now. Right now we're doing another round on Nearpods on Wednesday afternoons. And Aaron and I run simultaneous lessons at the same time. And teachers get to choose, do they think they're advanced and they know how to push the buttons? So they go to Aaron. If they are struggling and still don't understand the product, they would come to me. So the differentiation, it's been a success, letting teachers kind of choose their own path. So that's been big this spring for us.
Well, let's dive deeper into that. How did you decide to do that in turn? Because not everyone says, hey, let's do that. Now, we did that one summer in our summer boot camp, but normally throughout the school year, we don't do that. We just say, hey, you want some? And I know for some teachers, they're like, why am I sitting through this training that my principal has set up when I know this?
Right.
So what was the genesis behind you two sort of saying we're going to differentiate instruction that way? And how have teachers responded to being able to choose which track is more appealing to them?
It's been a really positive response, because one of our main complaints is some of our older teachers are technically challenged teachers. Their complaint is you move too fast during these. And our thing is, we're only given this much time. We got to get through it, make an appointment. I'll come back and go slow. We expect teachers to differentiate. So why shouldn't we differentiate? There are two of us. So I will say the downside is it takes us longer to get to everybody. We could knock out trainings rather quickly in a month's time frame, get all the schools covered. Now we're on like a 6 weeks time frame. Just to, like, elementaries, we're doing them as a separate component now because it needs both of us. So that's the downside, is time. But the teachers, they seem to be really appreciating that they're getting to pick what they think they are, and the pace is very different. The material we cover is very, very different. So it's been a really positive response so far.
Awesome. So I want to switch gears now and ask you about your own growth and professional learning. How do you stay current and continually adding to your toolkit?
Twitter. It really is where you're finding a lot of stuff. Like, I'll do the Schoology ambassador, the Schoology chat, and people will put tools, and I'm like taking screenshots of it to go back to later. I'm new to the game. The conferences, I'm very choosy now what I go to. Like FETC, I was very picky about what sessions I went to, because we don't have a lot of money to invest in new products. I want to go like test some of the Apple sessions. What are they showing since we're in Apple school? I did hit one of those 60 apps in 60 minutes. Were there any I don't know? Now, it's fewer every time I do it. And then meeting other people, at these conferences and making connections. I now have people I can hit up on Twitter or email and say, how do you do this? What are you doing for this? Twitter is probably one of my most useful things right now, though, as far as staying in the front of stuff.
It is. I love it. It is. I tell people all the time, I say, I don't want to say this because I get paid to deliver this type of PD, but Twitter is one of the most best options for PD you'll ever have, because you can get at what you wanted. And once you build that network, you have so many people to draw from their experience.
Right.
So it's awesome.
Yes.
So before we go, I want your call to action for districts who are planning to go one-to-one. What is the first thing they have to get right the first year? And how will administration know if they're on the right track?
You have to put in instructional tech coaches. I don't want to say Aaron and Hope made it successful, but the position, I believe, makes the one-to-one successful because teachers have somebody there. You have ongoing training from a face they know. I think it's good to bring in outside people too, but I think having people in the district that are there for you and to coach you and to train you, training. You've got to, if you're going to invest in bringing out computers, you need to invest in training. You need to invest in on-site people and outside people. Teachers got to be trained up to roll it out. Otherwise, it's going to be a toy or it's going to sit in the box. So that would probably be my big call to action. You have to invest in training and people to train. I think principals can measure success. I'm not going to say test scores because I believe as instruction changes, test scores may not be the most reflective thing in the beginning. I think a couple years out is more realistic. We had another district tell us that, a successful district that said the first year scores dropped a little bit, but the next year it doubled what it had dropped. So it grew, exponentially what it should have been. I think they're going to measure it by walkthroughs, seeing what's going on in the classrooms. You can look at lesson plans and that should be an indicator, but I think the best way for principals to know how that technology has been used in their building is get in those classrooms. They need to be doing walkthroughs. And even if it's a tally mark, this is how many times I saw it being used instructionally, not just it's right before the bell rings, so I'm letting them get on Khan Academy, but like engagement. And then look at those tally marks throughout the year. Is it growing? Look at your usage reports. Schoology has usage reports, Nearpod usage reports, a lot, maybe Max, I think, usage reports. Look at your usage reports. Look at the amount of time students are spending on it. Is it too much? Because I agree with you. I think there's a time and place. It should be blended. I think observation and usage reports are their biggest indicators in the beginning.
I pull those user reports and I tell teachers.
Yes.
I was like, hey, usage is down, people. We need to bring it up.
Yeah.
Especially when I look in and I say 17 minutes. I'm like, hey, we got 90-minute blocks over here. 17 minutes, not enough.
You're right.
I want my 25. I want my 25. I also love what you said about instructional technologists, because I'm going to tell you this. I cannot believe that there are districts that will spend the kind of money it costs to go one-to-one with a Chromebook, a MacBook, a PC, iPad, and then they maybe bring in Apple people or bring in Google folks for 3 days. And then it's like, all right, go have a good year. And they don't have the professional development. They don't invest in the staff needed to work with teachers. That just still puzzles my mind that happens all the time.
Yeah, and wonder why it's failing. Teachers need to be shown. They need it modeled for them, just like students need things modeled for them. It's no different for teachers. Sometimes they need it modeled, not with everybody, but there are a lot of teachers who need that extra coaching. They need somebody to come in the room and show them how to do it.
Awesome. All right, people. This has been a great show. And I hope that Schoology, I hope you hear me. Because they're starting to post my podcast on their blog. So I hope that this is one that they actually put on there, because this is a good show. You gave some great information, very valuable to people. As always, people, this is going to be on my blog. This will be on YouTube, SoundCloud, as well as LinkedIn. You'll be able to find information to be able to connect with Hope on social media and be able to learn and ask her additional questions. I want to thank you again, Hope, for being a guest on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm just a man with a hangout. That's all I tell people. Just a man with a hangout. So as always, people, invest in you, EDU. Peace.